Ready to lead like you've been doing it for years? The truth is, leadership is hard, but waiting to feel ready is harder. This is the Instant Leader podcast with Andy Lee, bringing you real stories and proven principles to lead with more confidence today. Hey, welcome back to the Instant Leader podcast. Today, I'm catching up with my good friend, Terry Chiu, entrepreneur, father of two, and founder of thriving businesses in software and property. We've known each other for over 2 decades, and in this episode, he shares his real, sometimes accidental journey into leadership, running businesses, and raising a family. Trust me, you'll get some honest, no fluff advice on resilience, confidence, and why making mistakes is actually a good thing. So let's get into it. Hey, Terry, welcome to the Instant Leader podcast show. It's an honor to have you.
Andy, always a pleasure. I am thrilled to be here to have a chat with you.
Yeah, and we go back, I think, over a couple of decades, don't we? When we were in the university days.
Oh, Andy, over a couple of decades. That sounds so old. I mean, it is true, but yeah, probably more, just over 2 decades, I think.
Yeah,
probably, yeah, 25 years. I would probably say.
Hanging out in the Manchester night scene before we had any responsibilities, dancing and maybe drinking the night away. Look at us now.
Yeah. And now look at us now. It's the grey hairs.
It's the grey. That's why I'm covering mine. Well, it's great, and hey, we're here to talk about something mature and hopefully useful for our audience, and it's the topic of leadership. And so, just a little bit of background, Terry. What is it you do right now?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a father of two, a 12-year-old, and an 8-year-old. Time goes so quick. I'm happily married, and I run a couple of businesses. One of my main businesses is an agency. We're a software development agency, and we build custom software for clients. We have all clients all the way from big blue chip companies, PLCs, down to sort of one-man bands, and we cater for all audiences. I also have a property business where we develop, we buy land, and we build out apartment buildings, student and residential. Those are those 3 areas: parenting and the property business and the software business are my main focus, and I guess that keeps me busy.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it really does. And so the trajectory that you took to get to where you are right now, I'd love to kind of hear a little bit about how that came to pass, unless you really believe that when you were younger. Hey, dude, what are you doing here? Man, you messed. What are you doing here?
Daddy.
Yes.
I saw lots of fireworks near our.
Did you, Jackson? We saw lots of fireworks, and Uncle Terry's got a doggy, and Uncle Terry's doggy is very scared of the fireworks.
Dogs are scared.
Very scared.
Them.
Yeah, dogs are the fireworks, but you're not. But you're not scared of fireworks, are you? No, because you're a big brave boy, not scared of little doggy.
So you already been? I thought you were going for longer than that. You've already been to see them. Have you been outside already? Oh, where's Mummy?
Downstairs.
Upstairs. Mummy should know where you are, because Mummy knows I'm in this meeting with Uncle Terry. You can say, "See you Saturday, Uncle Terry."
Hey, we'll see you Saturday, and we're going to do something really fun. Really fun. Are you ready? Are you looking forward to Saturday?
Talk properly,
yes.
you.
Yes.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
All right, go find Mummy. Close my door, please. And don't come back in.
Sorry, you haven't started yet, have you? Oh, sorry.
We had.
That's okay. You can edit. That's okay, Lisa. We can edit it out. That's the beauty of editing.
Oh, yeah. Good.
That's it.
All right. Enjoy.
Right. I think you answered what you were doing, and then and I was asking you about the path that got you to where you are.
Yeah.
So I'll just start that again. Wow, Terry. So, by and large, it sounds like you've achieved quite a lot of success in the professional and personal life there. You've got a beautiful family, couple of businesses.
how would you say you got to where you are? Like, was this something that you had already plotted out when you were younger?
I think the real answer is by accident is the real answer. I think unless you're following a really specific route in your career, like medicine or accounting or finance or architecture and things like that, I think for anybody, and I think I speak for many people who are in business and have taken the entrepreneurial route, is that they've suddenly realized and they've had to take a lot of time to learn about themselves and figure out what kind of things really really make them tick and really get them excited. And I think one of the things that people make a mistake of when they want to start a business is they say, I want to start a business. And that's not really how business people get into business. Many business people and entrepreneurs get into business by accident, because nothing else ticks all the boxes and scratches all the itches. For me, it was, I've worked for people in the past, and for me, it was being able to create something and watch it grow, very much like starting a family. For many parents listening to this, there's no feeling just like sort of having children, imparting wisdom to your children, and your children actually soaking that wisdom in and learning from them and growing. It's just exactly the same with the business, is that you create something, you have a seed of an idea, you build on that idea, and you learn on the job. There's no there's no real sort of exact route to making a business successful. There are guidelines, frameworks, wireframes, but generally speaking, everybody's learning on the job and everybody's adapting to their environment. So I think for me, it was always wanted to create something that I built myself and to watch it grow. And I learned on the job: marketing, finance, sales, HR, and just really sort of an understanding about yourself as well. Because I think a lot of people think that starting a business is the main thing is being good at what you do. And actually the main thing about, I guess, leadership and starting a business is actually resilience. And that is being able to take, the bad times as well as the good. And I think that's probably the most important thing in business. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned.
Yeah. No, thanks for that answer, Terry. A couple of times there you said it's about learning about yourself. People don't set out, or you didn't set out to say, hey, I want to start a business. Find out what makes you tick. That like understanding yourself, which then led to this accident of having two businesses. What was the first step to that? Did you like knowingly, purposefully go, right, I'm going to read some books to understand myself and understand what makes me tick, understand my personality type? Was that an intentional journey for you, or did you just come about through you just taking action in various directions?
I remember when I first turned 18 and I left home and I went to university. And I think when you're young, you make a lot of mistakes. And I realized really early on that those mistakes were really important, because some of those mistakes were lessons, as the cliche goes. And then I think one thing that I did a lot was made mistakes on purpose, as in taking the wrong route in your car in a place that you don't know on purpose, so that you can find your way back. Because then that's how you grow. And I think the one thing that I learned was not having a plan per se. Obviously, you have a plan to want to do something, but I guess the goal was to make as many mistakes as possible when you're young, when you don't have dependents and you don't have much to lose per se, so to speak. And I think the goal I set was, what's the worst that could happen in my current situation? I couldn't do that now. I've got kids, I've got people who depend on me, I've got elderly parents, so I can afford to make very little mistakes now. But when you're young, in your teens, in your 20s, when you don't have very many responsibilities, those are the times to make all the mistakes. So for me, I think the goal was to try my hand at as many things as I could, and I've done so many odd jobs, door-to-door sales, phone call centers. I've worked in takeaways. I've worked in retail. I've done design. I've done everything. There's so many things that I've done, and most of the things at the time I probably hated them, but now looking back at those times, wow, what a great lesson, what a bunch of lessons that I managed to learn through all those really rubbish jobs that I hated at the time. But actually, without those small little sort of mistakes and things that I didn't like, I don't think I would have been able to build the resilience to be able to do what I do now.
I see. So making mistakes intentionally, and doing them in such a way where the risk wasn't like an unrecoverable risk.
I guess it's controlled risk, right? It's so as an example, prime example, the first time I moved out, no, not the first time I moved out, the first time I moved down to London, brand new, the big capital, the big smoke, very big city. First thing I do was get lost, literally get lost, because the only way, this is how old I am now. This was a time before sat nav. So, we had an A to Z, right? So an A to Z map. So the only way you could find your way around a new place was to look on an A to Z map. So you didn't have, the luxuries of, a sat nav telling you where to go, let alone a smartphone or Google Maps. So we had an A to Z, and the only way so that I knew the area was to purposely get lost and find myself way back to home. So I think controlled risk is the best way to learn.
And what was the biggest risk that you took or mistake that you experienced then that taught you the biggest lesson?
Oh yeah, a few times. I guess I've tried to start a business many times. I think I failed 3-4 times before I hit on a business that actually made any money. And some of those weren't my fault. Sometimes it was just the economy just wasn't right. But I guess a couple of the big ones were I had quit quite a secure job as I just got married and started a new business, and that's when the economy plummeted. The markets the markets died, and basically it's just the wrong time to start a job. And so newly married, new mortgage, in fact, and no income. So that was a pretty risky, but I mean, at the time, it was terrible. What a terrible husband I was at the time. But now looking back, it was hard times build resilience. You can't teach resilience. You can't say, hey, you've got to be tough and you've got to be resilient and you've got to expect the hard time. You can't teach anyone that. You can't read that in a book. You've just got to experience it, right? So I guess those hard times teach us resilience.
And why do you think that resilience is such an important trait to have?
Yeah, resilience is probably the most important trait to have, regardless if you start a business. Regardless if you want to be a leader or not, just any kind of situation requires resilience. So if you are having trouble with your partner, it requires resilience to cope with the situation. If you're having family problems, career problems, money problems, whatever problems you have, just having resilience. And I think sometimes resilience isn't just being able to cope with hard times or challenging times. I think resilience is being in hard and challenging times and understanding your own ability to be able to dig yourself back out. And that's going back to the controlled risk thing, is that of all those times that I got lost on purpose, of all those times that I dug a deep hole for myself on purpose, or maybe, said the wrong thing on purpose, or, tried my hand at things that I knew probably wasn't going to work out on purpose, was the fact that I trusted myself that I could get myself out of those situations.
And is that what it is for you then? This resilience is, in other words, is that you develop a self-confidence in yourself that whatever situation you face, you can get through it.
Yeah, and I think that's all confidence is. You speak to any confident person, and and unless they're a fraud, and but a truly, if you speak to any confident people in your life, you'll realize that the reason why they're confident is because they actually know what they're talking about, or they can handle what is being thrown at them, right? That's what confidence is. People, or you get fake confidence, which is which are fraudsters, scammers. So you get people like that, but genuine confidence, I think, are people who have gone through some stuff in their life and realize that whatever life throws at them, or the situation throws at them, that they can handle it. That's all confidence is. It's resilience. It's experience. And you can't gain resilience or experience or confidence without having done it yourself. You can't be taught that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's a huge advantage to you that you caught that early on. And so you could develop your resilience in a purposeful way earlier on, so that you had the time to then work on that and take action from the increased confidence, which led you to where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you articulate that really well in terms of, sounds like I planned it, but the truth
it was
is,
an accident, right? You said it.
Yeah, it was, again, the whole thing that it's an accident. I guess wrong place, right time. So, and I think that's the key here, is that I found myself in the wrong places at the right time constantly, and that turned that wrong place, right time, consistent wrong place, right time, turned into right place, right time as I grew older.
Yeah. And Tay, would you say right now that, with your family, with 2 established businesses, that you're still on that journey of building resilience and confidence?
Absolutely. I think anybody who says, "Oh, I've done it, I've hit the goal, and I've done everything I set out," I think they're wrong. I think anybody who says that is clearly not in the right right mindset, because I think, I can't remember who said this. I think it was Matthew McConaughey. I think it was, where he talked about his hero, and his hero was actually his 10 himself 10 years later.
Yeah. It was an
And then
for an award.
It was an acceptance speech, yeah, exactly. It was an acceptance speech, and it was, someone asked him, "Who was your hero?" And he said he realized it was him 10 years later. And then 10 years later, "Have you met your hero?" And he said, "No, well, because I realized that my hero now is my 10 years later now." And that's really true, because you never stop. If you are thinking in the right mindset, you will actually never hit your goal, because your goal's constantly shifting, constantly growing. Who at the age of 18 says, "Oh, great, I'm an adult now, life's done, I've hit my goal"? No one says that, right? And anyone who says that is pretty loopy. But the truth is that, for any remotely aspirational person, you never hit your goal, because you're constantly growing, you constantly have new needs, you become a parent, you become a husband or a wife and a partner, and you have new needs, new requirements. You're constantly growing. So I think you never stop.
Yeah. And I think that reflects in your professional success, that constant building, and the fact that you mentioned you had 3 failed businesses before as well. and that didn't knock you over to the point of giving up. You got back up and you kept going until you succeeded. And so that resilience was there, that never stop stopping attitude was there. So kudos to you. I want to bring this back to the topic of leadership, and just so that we align here, what is your definition of leadership, Terry?
I think leadership isn't about showing how strong you are. I think a lot of people think that leadership is about strength. I actually think the opposite. I actually think leadership is about showing your weaknesses. And if you lead a team, for example, it doesn't have to be your own business, but if you lead a team, I think those people who constantly think that they are the alpha and of that team, even if they're the leadership of that team, and think that they know everything and that they are the strongest of that, is deluded. I think leadership should be about understanding your own weaknesses and accepting the people to fill the gaps of those weaknesses. Same with running a family. I could say that I am probably the most rounded, 100% perfect parent. I know that's not true for sure. And, there are flaws, and I need my wife to fill in the gaps of all those flaws that I have, and vice versa. I think true leadership is understanding where your flaws are, and quickly understanding how you fill those flaws. And I don't think leadership is guiding or being strong for others. I think leadership is understanding how you can build something together as a family, as a business, as a team.
Yeah. So you really do focus on the people around you in terms of being a leader.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Having an awareness of the weaknesses. Do you mind me asking, Terry, like, in terms of your personal growth in that area, what you would identify as weaknesses that then you would ask other people around you to kind of fill?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about family for a second. I have 2 kids, and they're very fun kids, and like many dads, I am the fun dad. I'm the fun parent. I am, however, not the authoritarian parent. I'm not the one that's strict. My wife lays down the rules and with the kids, and if we set a rule for the kids, generally speaking, I normally want to bend them. My wife is the one that is very consistent. She's the one that says, this is the rule, we're going to stick to the rule, and this is what we agreed. And so without my wife, I think the kids would try and bend the rules because they think they know they can with dad. And it could be vice versa for you. It could be vice versa for some of your audiences. In a professional setting at work, I think a million miles an hour, and sometimes I don't stop for breath for new ideas. I'll have a new idea, and then I'll try and do it, and then I'll have another idea, and then I'll get someone to do it. I think you need thinkers and doers in life, right? Regardless of if that's in business or in career or with family. And so I'm very much a thinker and partial doer. I know I have all these ideas that I want to do, and I need help from a team to help me execute them before I move to the next idea and scale the business. Likewise with at home, my wife is the one to set the structure, as it were, and so yeah, you need people to help fill those gaps.
Yeah. So what's it like then when your children have 2 parents who one sets the rules and enforces them and the other one maybe doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, other than chaos,
Yeah.
I think it's important to have those opposite ends of the spectrum. Imagine having two really high authority parents. What a terrible life the kids would have. And likewise, imagine having two ultra fun parents where there's no structure, the house is a mess, and you can't have that. You have to have both. So yeah, I think I think it works well, and I think it's both contributes different
Yeah,
things.
so you work with each other on that. And did you have those conversations with your wife? Like, hey, this is what I'm like, this is what you're like, I'm like this, so you do that, or you're like this, so I'll accommodate you.
Yeah, interesting. No, actually, I think a lot of people, look at your life and look at other people, and if they're doing well, they think, oh, they must have planned it all out. It must have such a good plan. But actually, a lot of this parenting that we have now, and I think it's the case for a lot of people, actually, we didn't really have a structure. We didn't have. We didn't really have a planned structure to say, "Hey, this is your role, and this is my role." I think we both fell into our roles based purely on personality. And the kids have accepted that. I think it's an unspoken rule that if things need to be decided quick, or things need to be fun, or then ask dad. And if things need to be more structured, well, in fact, they don't ask for structure, but the rules stay with my wife. That's kind of where everything sits.
And I think that, hey, you guys didn't sit down and have that conversation. Shows that, hey, you're a good fit. That's why you're married.
Yeah, I think so. I think that said, I do think the conversation is good, and I think it depends on the couple, right? I think some couples are better off to have that structured plan. For us, I feel that the rigidity of that kind of plan may have felt too forced.
Yeah, and my philosophy is just, it's two words here, and I apply it to a lot of situations, and including this one we're talking about now, is like, well, what works? It's what works.
Yeah.
Is it right? Is it right? It's what works. What is effective here? And in this situation, there's so many different factors that you can't just put a formula to it. And, can't say like this is the right way to do it. It's what works for the Chiu family, and it works well. And your goal here is to raise wise, great, super successful kids, and that's what you're doing. So, yeah, great. The other thing you mentioned, the thinkers and the doers. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And you then, knowing that you think 100 miles an hour, have a lot of ideas, they can't all be implemented, or at least you can't implement them all. So you have to get other doers in to implement and to execute. Have you thought about how you communicate that? Like, because that's a leadership skill. How do you influence the doers to enact what you have a picture of in your head?
Yeah, I think something that's really unspoken of in business is leadership, is energy. And it's one of those things that you walk into a room and you don't gravitate to the person who is the smartest, because if you don't know anyone, that is, you gravitate to the person who has the best energy. It might not be the most energy, but the best energy that matches your energy, or at least the energy that you aspire to have. So going back to your question is, how do you how do you I guess motivate a team or get them onto the same page as you? And that is, if you want them to have the energy that you're putting in, you've got to show them the energy and explain to them in a way, in an energetic way, that you want them to carry that on. That's that energy there is something that, again, I don't think it's easy to teach, but it's easy to inspire others with your energy. And I think if you, so I talk about the thinkers and the doers. Now I think a lot, but I don't palm things off. So if I have an idea, I'll start the idea myself, and then I will continue. I will ask the team to continue with that particular project, that particular task. And I think the only way you can do that is going in with the right energy, with the right tone, with the right language, and let them continue with that energy. I think the thing that the biggest mistake that people make is expecting people to um, carry out your task with the same level of enthusiasm that you have, without showing them the enthusiasm that you have for the task. And I think that's critical. That, I meet a lot of business owners, a lot of leaders who don't communicate the energy. They communicate the task, they communicate the brief, they don't communicate the energy. And sometimes when people talk about what's the vision for your family, what's the vision for your business, what's the vision for your task, the vision is one, the idea is one thing, but the energy is another. It's a cultural thing that you can't teach. You have to show your team the energy.
And so by energy, are you talking about like your body language,
Yeah.
the excitement in your voice, that kind of, hey, come on, guys, let's, a kind of a rally the troops, kind of a, let's catch this vision together. Let's see what we can achieve. Painting that picture.
I think so, but not in a Wolf of Wall Street kind of way. Not an aggressive sort of rah-rah attitude, but a positive one, and sometimes a negative one as well. I think a lot of people think that in anything that you do, the energy and anything that you do has to be positive. It doesn't have to be always positive. It's always warning them. It's also warning them of the pitfalls. Hey, we're going to do this task. This is exactly what we're trying to achieve with this project, and these are the goals, and this is what I want you to do. But just so that these things could happen as well. And so you're being really realistic in a very positive way, and I think that's key to sort of communicating energy.
Yeah, no, good. That's great. And what things are you personally working on right now to continue to improve your leadership, your confidence, your roles as a husband and a father and business owner? I don't know if they're all separate questions because of the different hats that you wear, or they would fall under the same answer for you.
Yeah, I think it does fall under the same answer. Or the umbrella answer to that is never stop. And I think the answer to that is never stop, because whatever you do, again, I think I alluded to this before, is that there's never an end to this. The moment you think, I've done it, I've achieved it, I've made it, you've already lost.
And what is this? Never stop, but never stop what?
Never stop learning. Never stop learning. Never stop moving forward. Never stop working hard on something, even if you think you've achieved it. There's always another level. No matter how, bless you, there's always another level. There's never nobody, even Jeff Bezos, although he's pretty high up there, could never say, I've achieved everything that I could ever do. It's not true. He's not finished his space thing yet. Elon Musk, he a great example there. Love him or hate him, he's achieved so much, and he's reaching for the stars, literally.
He is,
and he's never stopping. He's never learning. He's always learning. He's never stopped learning. So I think that the never stop and thinking that you've achieved this is that you should, again, going back to what I said before, is always look at yourself in the future and how that future you could be better. Because what you do today is how you're going to be in the future. It's going to impact how you're going to be in the future.
Yeah.
The things that I teach my kids today might not matter today, but it might matter in 10 years' time when they're grown up. So never stop. And I think that again, going back to the how do you communicate the energy, is that if you are the kind of parent that feels that you've achieved everything that you need to achieve, that's how your kids are going to see it. That, hey, dad's 44 now. I'm 44, by the way. Dad's 44 now. Is that you? And yeah, and I think the way that you carry yourself and is how your kids. I mean, let's be honest. Most kids turn out how their parents turn out, in a roundabout way. And I think for me that is the critical thing, is that you just can't stop because your kids are watching you.
So that's something that you're, super clear about, right? Wanting to make sure that your kids are following a good example. You want to be a role model for your kids. That's a very
I think
strong motivation for you.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest motivation, because hey, you can mess up and it wouldn't really matter. Yeah, it's just yourself. But I can't mess up because the kids are watching. So it's the only motivation. The motivation isn't money. It isn't the whole business, the whole career thing, everything there is only the only motivation there is the kids, them watching you, and also building a good life for them as well.
Yeah. Hey, so an interesting one scenario here, Terry, is what if you didn't have kids?
Yeah, really good example, actually. I've always said to my team that I don't know if I would be as driven if I didn't have a family. I think I'd still be driven, but would I have as much push as I would if I wasn't a dad and having, them looking over my shoulder and watching what dad's doing?
Yeah,
Because
it's hard to know, isn't it? It's hard to know.
Hard to know. You've got a son, and quite often, I think subconsciously, when you're doing something, quite often when he's not even in the room or even nearby, you kind of ask yourself subconsciously, do I want to do this? And do I want my son to see me do this? And I think that question is such a powerful question, because it sets you in a trajectory that it should be the right route, because even if I wanted to do something wrong, I probably wouldn't, because I think I would set the wrong example for the kids.
Yeah. I mean, they say, your character is developed in secret, right? And so when you kind of think about every time you're alone, the fact that, what if my son was right next to me?
Yep.
He approve? Would he like what I'm doing, saying, whatever? I think that's a really good way of thinking about things.
Yeah, I think it's a good barometer to live life in general, because I think it just makes you think about your decisions.
Yeah. So this idea of never stop, always learn. You picked out some of these big, successful people: Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. They all have their own path. They're working their own mission. Like, one of them literally a space mission. For you, Terry, what is it that you'll never stop? Like, can you pinpoint the specifics of what you're continuing to learn and develop in terms of your skills, or whatever it is that gives you a better output?
Yeah, I think the most important skills, particularly in an AI future, is communicating better, being a better people person, treating people, nicer. And I think in the future, the skills that are going to be the most valuable, the most important, aren't technical skills, aren't AI skills, aren't whatever skills you need for AI. It's actually all the soft skills. Being articulate, being able to articulate yourself, having the emotional intelligence to communicate with people. And I think I've made some progress there, but I think there's still a lot to be learned. But I think with my kids is that I've always wanted to focus more on the soft skills, emotional intelligence, rather than EQ rather than IQ. I think you can teach IQ. You can teach. You go to school. As long as you apply yourself, you can regurgitate books. That might not be as important in the future. Probably not important now. But the soft skills are something that you can't teach. You have to develop. You can encourage, but you certainly can't teach them. And again, going back to the importance of doing the right thing, I think setting the precedents and showing the example to your kids about emotional intelligence and all the soft skills is far more important than anything else they could learn from a book or school. I'm not saying that those things don't matter, but those things can be learned. You can't learn emotional intelligence. You have to practice it.
Yep.
So I guess for me is continually learning and understanding how to be a better people person.
Yeah.
Because I think those soft skills are the only skills that are going to be are going to matter. All the technical skills, all of those skills, AI will take over all those things.
I agree. So what do you do to continue to hone those skills for yourself? Like, are there particular routines or habits, tasks that you do?
Yeah, I think one thing that, and I've noticed this with many people that I interact with, friends and colleagues, and I don't think people like to talk anymore. I don't think people like to pick up the phone. I mean, we've got to a point where people don't really like to message. I think maybe I just know a load of grumpy old men, but that don't want to talk. But I think one thing is that people have less time to talk to people, real people. And I think that's going to get worse with the next generation because they don't have to. AI is becoming so intelligent, so articulate that it feels like you're talking to a real person. And I think there's a danger there because it's not a real person. And I think we're going to fall into a trap where we're going to have a whole layer of a generation where they are brought up in an AI world where they think being good at talking to an AI is actually being a good people person, and that's not true. I think the people skills is really important.
And so, what do? You just hang out with more people? The socializing aspect, is that how you develop and hone?
No, I think develop habits. If something can be solved with a call, pick up the phone. I have staff who hate calling clients. They'll send them an email and it might take a day to come back. And I say, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. This could be solved in 2 minutes. I pick up the phone to clients for no reason, just to have a chat, because you just don't know where those conversations lead. You could pick up the phone and they might have some opportunity that they've not told anybody else. They've got something on their mind. They've got a problem. They've got something to solve. They haven't told anyone. And I've called and suddenly they're articulating the problem. What have you been up to? Oh, this is what I'm thinking at the moment. Oh, great. Let's talk about it. So we talk it through, and before you know it, it might turn into a piece of business or might not, but it doesn't matter. we've shared an idea together, and that doesn't happen on an email. It doesn't happen on a text. It doesn't happen on a Zoom call, even if you're talking. So you've got to, a lot of the things that happen or have happened in the past haven't happened on purpose. Again, going back to the accidents, things that happened accident in my life, is that a lot of things that happen in life are serendipitous. They happen just so happen coincidentally. And that's how life used to be. Everything was serendipitous, but now we don't have these serendipitous moments. Everything's planned, overstructured, and my diary's full, chock, back to back. But sometimes I just want to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, how is business? What's going on over there? How are the kids? How's the wife? How's the husband, etc." It doesn't have to land anything commercially, but the human factor there is so important. My kids hate talking on the phone. They'll send my son sends one word WhatsApp messages back. And I will send a big piece of text, that go, I overtalk, but I don't care, it's fine. And I think that's happening to our generation as well, especially people who are work in a professional environment where they can communicate via email, text, phone, and or Zoom. They don't see real people, and that's a real shame, and that's a real danger that people don't have human to human contact.
Yeah. I mean, so you're doing something, this habit, Terry, that was normal for us before the age of AI.
Yeah.
Before maybe the iPhone came out, where we would just pick up the phone, call somebody, and they would be like, "Hey, it's good to hear from you." Now, if you do that, yes, you have those first 15 seconds of pleasantries, but it's immediately, "So what are you calling for? What do you want? How can I help?" It's like there has to be a reason other than the fact that I was just thinking of you and I just wanted to come to call you and see what happens, right? And that's what you're saying. You've created those serendipitous moments by taking the first step into like an unknown. Where's this phone call going to lead? Where's this coffee chat going to go? And that's great. I love that. It's
By the way, it doesn't have to be a phone call. I think maybe an extension to that is not the mode of communication. It doesn't have to be by voice or video or FaceTime or text, whatever. It can be any of those things.
Can you imagine showing up to someone's house now?
Yeah, exactly.
Unscheduled.
Yeah, exactly. It could be any mode of communication. I guess as an extension to that, it's not so much the mode of communication, it's the intent and length of communication. It's not short, one word, yes, no, and question answers. It is long form communication is what I'm trying to get at, is that I could call you and ask you a question and you answer it and we put the phone down. That's equally as bad. But likewise, I could have a 1 hour back and forth WhatsApp conversation with you, which can lead to discovering all kinds of things about Andy and vice versa. So it's not the mode of communication. It is the length and intent of the communication. It's not I think a lot of communication now is transactional, not from a money perspective, is that I want something, you have it, can you answer? And that's most of the time, that's the communication. There isn't that chat anymore where, hey, how's it going? On a WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then you can answer as little or as much as you want. I mean, I'm hoping that you would, my how's it going to you hopefully should spark a conversation about how you actually are. I'm actually, a lot of people say, how are you? But they don't really care how you are. They're just asking because it's pleasantries. Quite often you need to ask how people are to get, what have you been up to, how things are. And, and sorry, just sort of going on to and you may come on to this, but let's go on to social media for a second. I think a lot of people think that when people post on social media, and it is extended on this, there is a point to this, is that they're posting on social media as a one-way channel. And what I mean by this is that, hey, I've done this, or I've got this, and here's me with this, or that's me here. It's a one-way communication, and that's what most people expect. But I think that's the wrong way to look at social media. It's not I don't look at social media as a flex. I think a lot of people look at social media as a flex to go, hey, look at me, I'm here, or I'm there. I do that. But my purpose, I think, of social media is to create a talking point. And, how many people can you physically be in contact with? I have people that I haven't seen for 10 years. But yet I know that they've just got a new dog. And if I can pick up those conversations and ask about the dog, and I've got a dog, and how's your dog doing? Oh, and then we can share tips. I can share my tips about being a dog owner. And I have a friend who reached out to me. I've recently been on holiday. I haven't seen her since 1999. Yeah, 1999, the last time I saw her. But I feel like I know everything about her, and she feels like she knows everything about me because we post on social media and we interact. It's not a one-way channel. It should be a two-way channel. Is that I post, I want someone to ask me about it. They post, I want to ask them about it, and it sparks up a conversation. It's the intent and the form factor, long-form communication. And I think that's how human-to-human contact is going to survive in the AI world. If every conversation is just transactional, I think the conversation is going to die really quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very interesting take on social media. And at the end of the day, it is a tool, isn't it? So it's how you use it. And I love the way that you talked about how you could use it to influence, recognizing that there are people that you're talking to, but seeing it as a two-way communication channel where, hey, they can talk back to you as well. You're not just announcing something and then don't want anybody else to interact. Like there's an opportunity to influence there. Like there's a platform that you have. So that's really good. Really good. Yeah, the whole people aspect. You're like creating the space and allowing enough time for those interactions to develop depth is kind of what you're saying. Because if you keep it short, you never really reach those kind of deep level of conversations where they can be transforming, where you can be actually influencing each other on a deeper level.
Yeah,
so that's what
you never. Yeah, exactly. That's got to be key. In fact, my entire business has been built on our clients trust us because we've had deep conversations. We've had those serendipitous moments where we've been talking about something else and ended up doing something else. And I think those you can't create those moments, and more importantly, no one else can take those moments away from you. Competitors. So competitors we have competitors that can do a way better job than we do. We have competitors who do worse than we do, but it's not the point. It's not about, we're in business to do a good job. Everybody's in business to do a good job. Everybody's in a career to do a good job. It's not about the smartest. It's about the person who can communicate the best. I've met people who are so smart, developers who are so smart, but couldn't tell you what they were doing or don't want to tell you what they're doing. Likewise, I know people who know very little about what they're doing, but could articulate for hours about a certain sector or a certain task. And I think that's really important. I think that's how people are going to set themselves apart. That's how we set ourselves apart, is that we have more conversations than our competitors. It's not transactional. We care.
Yeah. So on that,
we just care more.
Yeah, the relationships piece, and that's what sets you apart from the competition there, Terry. And you lead that. Presumably you model that from the top for the rest of your team as well. Carrying that energy and that focus on client relationships.
Yeah, and also internally, going back to the leadership piece, where how do you lead people in a way that is scalable? You can't teach everybody to do everything that exactly the way you do it, but you can teach them fundamentals of how you want them to treat other people, and then they can scale that by themselves. And so, having a good sort of internal communication in a business is important as well.
And what are some of those characteristics then, like your approach to communication and the way that you do it that you want your team to follow?
I think the key here is to understand what the other person's thinking. Sounds really simple, but what is the other person thinking? Put yourselves in other people's shoes, not your agenda, their agenda, because they don't. You might mean well, but they might not take it well, and that goes for anything. That goes for friendship, family, spouse, kids, leadership. It is constant, and it's really tiring. Actually, it's tiring in that. In fact, quite often, I sometimes wonder if I'm actually thinking for me or if I'm thinking of the other person. So what I mean by that is that when we're talking to clients, we're not talking about what we've done. We're thinking about what they want, and those are two different things. I might offer something, but they might not see it in the same light that I do. Just like words and tone. You might say something in a way that you feel that I'm going to perceive it. I might not perceive it like that. So that communication, the tone, the language, the energy, all those things are really important. I could say the same sentence in two different ways, and you could take it in two different ways. And so I think, I think that's really important that those things carry on throughout business, throughout family.
Yeah. So, moving on, what advice would you give to aspiring leaders, Terry?
Make mistakes. Make all the mistakes that you think don't outsource the mistakes. Make them yourself. So if you think that I'm going to hire someone or I'm going to outsource someone to make the mistakes, and then I'm going to learn from them, you're not going to. It's indirect third party learning. You've got to learn this stuff yourself. You've really got to be in the trenches. So, I think I proudly say to my team that every one of your jobs, I may not be great at it, but I've done every single one of your jobs. So I know, and even if I can't do it better than you, at least I know how you're feeling. At least I know all the peaks and troughs of your work. And yeah, I think the biggest lesson to teach anyone as an aspiring leader is make all the mistakes yourself. Don't outsource the mistakes.
Tell me how that fits, because so I read a lot, and I have a thought of I'm the quicker way to learn, to accelerate my learning, is to learn from other people's mistakes. And so a particular book, let's say again, before the age of AI, when people can write a book now in like 20 minutes, ask me how I know. You're talking a person's whole life experience in a book, warts and all. Maybe you look at these autobiographies. You look at Jeff Bezos and you look at the Richard Branson, and they've written books, and it's like, learn from them. How does that fit in with what you've just shared about, hey, make your own mistakes so you can experience what it's like and you can apply that kind of direct lesson to yourself?
Yeah, I read a ton of autobiographies. I only ever read autobiographies. I don't read anything else. And I think it's important there. I think the learning from other people's mistakes is slightly inaccurate. I think it's more having awareness that there are mistakes, there are troughs. I don't think you can honestly say that people can learn from other people's mistakes. You can be aware of those mistakes and maybe, not make them. But I think for you to really, for anyone to really understand what it feels like, you have to make the mistakes. I'm not saying that you have to do what I did and go and make mistakes on purpose. What I'm saying is that everything should not be smooth. If you've had a really smooth life and the career smooth, it kind of means you haven't really reached your potential. You've not taken enough risks to really reach, a high. Maybe you could do so much better than where you are now, if you had just taken a few more risks. Now, when you read autobiographies, I love autobiographies because it shows the journey that someone's made. Do you have to make those mistakes? No, but you're aware of them. And maybe even if you know about them, you might end up making them anyway, just environmentally.
Yeah.
Environmentally, you might be put in a situation where you can't avoid that mistakes. But reading about them and learning from other people's mistakes is a way for you to learn how to deal with it. You might read about Richard Branson and how, in his early days, he went to Tower Records, I think was it, where he went. And I think that could still happen to you, but it just gives you a little bit more insight into how you might be able to deal with it. You've still got to go through it. You can't outsource it.
Right. Yep. That's great. Thanks for what you've shared and opening up with your own journey, your leadership journey here. If our listeners could take one thing away from what we've discussed today, what would you hope that would to be?
Talk to people. Sounds really simple, but talk to people. Open up to your friends, reach out to people. Don't hide behind a phone.
Yeah, and don't let AI do it for you.
And definitely don't let AI. The irony there is that we work with AI in our business. So the irony is that, I sell this stuff, but I think what's going to set you apart is how emotional intelligent you are in the future.
Great. Well, Terry, thanks for being on the show and congratulations on your success so far. I'm excited for you and what your businesses are going to do, and also for you in your personal life as well. So thank you. And we'll
Pleasure, Andy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to The Instant Leader. If this episode helped, please follow the show and leave a quick review. It really helps others find us. For practical resources and to join the community, head to theinstantleader.com. I'm Andy Lee. See you next time.